Hello and welcome. Before we talk about success, before we talk about goals, money, discipline, or dreams, I want to ask you a quiet but powerful question. When was the last time you looked at your ordinary day and realized that it was shaping your future? Not the big moments, not the milestones you post online, but the invisible hours, the small choices, the habits no one applauds. Most people think success arrives one day. They imagine it like a destination, a moment when everything finally clicks, when life suddenly feels complete. But success doesn't arrive. Success is built. And it is built daily. Not in dramatic bursts of motivation, but in repetition. In showing up when you don't feel inspired. In choosing progress when comfort feels easier. Today's video is not about overnight success. It's not about hacks, shortcuts, or luck. It's about something far more powerful, the quiet truth that shapes real lives. Success is built daily, or it is never built at all. In this journey together, we will break down how success is formed, step by step, habit by habit, decision by decision. You don't need to be extraordinary. You don't need to move fast. You don't need to have everything figured out. You only need one thing, the willingness to build today. So take a deep breath. Settle into this moment. And let's begin. Part 1. Success is not a moment, it's a process. Most people fail not because they lack talent, but because they misunderstand what success really is. They see the highlight, not the hours. The result, not the routine. The applause, not the discipline that came before it. Success is not a moment you arrive at. It is a process you commit to. Think about anything meaningful in life: learning a language, building a career, improving your health, developing confidence, or mastering a skill. None of these happen suddenly. They are built through daily actions, often so small they feel insignificant. And this is where most people quit. Because small actions don't feel powerful. They don't give instant validation. They don't create excitement. But they create momentum. Success works like compound interest. One good decision today may not change your life. But repeated daily, it changes everything. Reading 10 pages a day feels slow until you finish dozens of books in a year. Practicing a skill for 30 minutes feels minor, until you realize you are years ahead of those who never started. Waking up early once doesn't matter. Waking up early consistently reshapes your identity. This is the truth most people resist. You don't rise to success. You grow into it. And growth is never loud. It happens quietly, when no one is watching, when no one is praising, when the results are still invisible. The daily process forces you to face boredom, resistance, and doubt. It asks you to continue even when motivation fades. And that's why success filters people out. Not because success is cruel, but because it demands patience. Those who succeed understand something simple yet profound. They stop asking, "Will this work?" and start asking, "Can I do this again tomorrow?" Because success is not built by intensity. It is built by consistency. If you want a different future, you don't need a dramatic plan. You need a daily practice you respect. A system you can repeat. A rhythm you can sustain. This is where success truly begins, not in dreaming, but in daily doing. Part 2. Daily discipline shapes identity. If success is built daily, then discipline is the tool that builds it. Not motivation, not inspiration, not talent. Discipline. Motivation comes and goes. Some mornings you wake up full of energy. Other mornings, everything feels heavy before the day even begins. Discipline does not care how you feel. It cares about what you do. And this is where success quietly separates people. Most people believe discipline is about force, pushing harder, being strict, punishing yourself. But true discipline is not aggression. It is alignment. It is the decision to act in harmony with the person you want to become, even when your emotions disagree. Every day, whether you realize it or not, you are casting votes for your future identity. When you choose to work instead of procrastinate, you are voting for the identity of someone who keeps promises. When you practice instead of quitting, you are voting for the identity of someone who finishes what they start. When you show up tired, distracted, or unsure, you are voting for the identity of someone who is reliable. An identity is powerful. Because once you see yourself a certain way, your behavior begins to follow naturally. You don't force yourself to act disciplined. You act disciplined because that's who you are. This is why daily discipline matters more than dramatic effort. One intense week does not change who you are, but repeated days of keeping your word to yourself do. Success is not built by asking, "What should I do today?" It is built by asking, "Who am I becoming through what I do today?" This shift changes everything. Instead of chasing results, you begin shaping character. Instead of measuring progress by outcomes, you measure it by consistency. You stop judging days as good or bad and start asking a better question. Did I act like the person I respect today? Discipline, practiced daily, removes chaos from your life. It creates structure where motivation fails. It gives your future something stable to stand on. And here is the deeper truth most people miss. Discipline is not restrictive. It is freeing. When your actions are consistent, your mind becomes calm. You waste less energy negotiating with yourself. You stop arguing about whether to start. You already know the answer. You show up. You do the work. You move forward one day at a time. This is how success becomes inevitable. Not because life becomes easier, but because you become stronger. Daily discipline does not make headlines. It does not impress crowds. But it quietly builds something far more valuable. Trust in yourself. And once you trust yourself, you stop doubting whether success is possible. You already know the answer because you are building it daily. Part 3. Small habits create massive results. One of the biggest lies people believe about success is that it requires massive action. They think they need to change everything at once. Wake up earlier. Work longer hours. Become a completely new person overnight. And when they fail to maintain that intensity, they conclude something is wrong with them. But the problem was never effort. The problem was scale. Success is not built by doing everything. It is built by doing small things consistently. Tiny habits may look insignificant, but they carry enormous power over time. Because habits don't just create results, they create direction. A 1% improvement today does not feel impressive. But repeated daily, it compounds into transformation. This is how progress actually works in real life. You don't suddenly become confident. You speak a little more clearly each day. You don't suddenly become disciplined. You keep one small promise to yourself, then another. You don't suddenly succeed. You slowly eliminate the behaviors that keep you stuck. Small habits remove friction. They lower resistance. They make progress feel possible. And this matters because the human mind resists extremes. It rebels against pressure. It avoids pain. But it accepts small steps. Reading one page feels easy. Writing one paragraph feels manageable. Practicing 5 minutes feels harmless. Yet these actions, repeated daily, reshape your skills, your mindset, and your confidence. This is why people who succeed don't rely on willpower. They rely on systems. They design habits that make the right choice automatic. They don't ask, "Do I feel like doing this?" They ask, "Is this part of who I am?" And habits answer that question for them. Every habit you repeat is a signal to your brain. It says, this matters. It says, this is normal. It says, this is who we are. Over time, resistance fades. What once felt difficult becomes familiar. What once felt impossible becomes routine. This is the hidden advantage of small habits. They don't demand motivation. They build momentum. And momentum is stronger than inspiration. The goal is not to overwhelm your life with change. The goal is to anchor your day with progress. One habit in the morning that sets the tone. One habit in the evening that reinforces discipline. One habit that reminds you you're moving forward. Success doesn't require perfection. It requires continuity. Miss one day, return the next. Lose focus, rebuild the habit. Fall behind, resume without guilt. Because success is not fragile. It is flexible. It bends, adapts, and continues as long as you do. When you commit to small habits daily, you stop waiting for breakthroughs. You become the breakthrough. And one day, looking back, you will realize something quietly profound. What changed your life was never one big decision. It was the small habits you chose to repeat every single day. Part 4. Build systems, not motivation. If small habits create massive results, then systems are what keep those habits alive. Most people wait for motivation to act. They tell themselves, I'll start when I feel ready. I'll be consistent when I feel inspired. I'll work harder when I feel confident. But motivation is unreliable. It is emotional. It depends on mood, energy, and circumstance. And those things change every day. Systems, on the other hand, do not depend on feelings. They depend on structure. A system is simply a set of rules you follow whether you feel like it or not. And this is how real progress becomes sustainable. Successful people do not wake up motivated every morning. They wake up committed to a process they trust. They remove decision fatigue. They reduce friction. They make progress automatic. Instead of asking, should I work today, the system answers for them. Instead of negotiating with themselves, they follow a routine. This is why systems matter more than goals. Goals point to a destination. Systems control the direction. A goal without a system is just a wish. A system without a goal still creates growth. Think about your day. When you wake up, what happens first? Do you reach for your phone? Or do you reach for intention? When your energy drops, what do? Scroll, snack, escape, or return to a simple, planned action? Your environment is already a system. It is shaping your behavior whether you realize it or not. And if you don't design your system, you inherit one by default. This is why success must be built deliberately. You don't rely on discipline alone. You support it with structure. You place your tools where you can see them. You remove distractions from your workspace. You decide in advance when and how you will work. You stop relying on emotion and start relying on preparation. Systems turn effort into habit. Habit into identity. Identity into results. And here is the quiet benefit most people overlook. Systems protect you on bad days. On days when you are tired. On days when nothing feels meaningful. On days when quitting feels easier than continuing. The system still carries you forward. Even minimal effort inside a system keeps the chain unbroken. And that consistency builds confidence. Because you no longer ask, can I do this? You know the answer. You've done it yesterday. You'll do it again today. This is how success becomes stable. Not through intensity. Not through passion. but through systems that guide your actions even when your emotions are silent. Build your system. Trust your process. And let success take care of itself, one structured day at a time. Part 5. Overcoming resistance and mental fatigue. Even with discipline, habits, and systems, there will be days when progress feels heavy. Days when your mind resists. Days when your energy is low. Days when doing nothing feels more attractive than doing the work. This resistance is not a flaw. It is a signal. Every meaningful path triggers resistance, because growth requires leaving familiarity behind. The problem is not that resistance exists. The problem is how people interpret it. Most people see resistance as a warning sign, a reason to stop, delay, or quit. But resistance is actually confirmation that you are moving in the right direction. If what you were doing didn't matter, your mind wouldn't fight it. Mental fatigue works the same way. It often appears not because you are weak, but because you are pushing beyond old limits. And this is where success is truly built. Not on your best days. Not when everything feels easy. But on the days when continuing feels uncomfortable. The key is to change how you respond to resistance. You don't need to defeat it. You don't need to overpower it. You need to work with it. Instead of asking, how do I force myself to do more? Ask, how do I lower the barrier to starting? On difficult days, reduce the task. Write one sentence. Open the book. Set the timer for 5 minutes. Starting is more important than finishing. Because action creates energy, not the other way around. Mental fatigue also comes from overthinking. You replay decisions. You question progress. You compare yourself to others. This drains focus and clarity. Successful people protect their mental energy. They simplify choices. They follow routines. They limit unnecessary input. They don't consume motivation endlessly. They create it through movement. And they accept a critical truth. Not every day will feel meaningful. Not every effort will feel rewarding. But effort still counts. Progress is not measured by how you feel, but by whether you return again and again. Resistance fades when you stop arguing with it. You acknowledge it. You lower expectations. You move anyway. And something powerful happens. Each time you continue despite resistance, your confidence grows quietly. Not loud confidence. Not ego. But a deep, steady belief. I can keep going, even when it's hard. This belief changes everything. Because once you trust your ability to continue, setbacks lose their power. Fatigue becomes temporary. Doubt becomes manageable. And quitting no longer feels like an option. This is how success is built daily. Not by eliminating resistance, but by learning to move forward with it. Part 6. Patience, Time, and Long-Term Belief. One of the hardest parts of building success daily is accepting how long real progress takes. We live in a world trained to expect speed. Fast results. Instant feedback. Immediate proof that our effort is worth it. But success does not respond to urgency. It responds to time. Time is not an obstacle. It is the medium through which growth happens. Most people quit not because they fail, but because they get tired of waiting. They work for weeks, sometimes months, and when results don't appear, doubt begins to whisper. Is this working? Am I wasting my time? Shouldn't I be further by now? These questions are natural, but they are also dangerous, because progress is rarely visible while it's forming. Roots grow underground before trees rise. Strength builds before it shows. Skill improves before it looks impressive. And success follows the same pattern. Daily effort often feels invisible because its impact is delayed. But delay does not mean denial. This is where long-term belief matters. Belief is not blind optimism. It is not pretending everything will work out. Belief is commitment without immediate reward. It is choosing to continue even when the scoreboard hasn't changed. People who succeed understand this difference. They stop measuring progress daily and start measuring it over seasons. They trust that consistent effort compounds, even when evidence is subtle. They learn patience not as waiting, but as active endurance. Patience is showing up today without demanding today to prove anything. It is allowing time to do its work while you do yours. And here is the truth few people accept. If you quit too early, you never discover how close you were. Most breakthroughs don't announce themselves. They arrive quietly, after long periods of apparent stagnation. This is why success requires faith, not in luck, but in the process. Faith that today's effort matters, even if you can't see how yet. Faith that consistency is shaping you long before it rewards you. And when belief holds steady, something shifts inside you. You stop rushing. You stop comparing. You stop panicking over timelines. You focus on what you control, the next action, the next habit, the next day. Time becomes an ally, not an enemy. And one day, often unexpectedly, results begin to reflect the work you've been doing all along. Not suddenly, but undeniably. This is the quiet power of patience. Success does not need to hurry. It only needs you to continue. Part 7, Failure, Setbacks, and Staying on the Path. No matter how disciplined you are, no matter how well your systems are designed, you will experience failure. You will miss days. You will make mistakes. You will fall short of your own expectations. This is not a sign that you are doing something wrong. It is a sign that you are doing something real. Failure is not the opposite of success. It is part of the construction process. The problem is not failure itself. The problem is how people respond to it. Most people treat failure as an identity. They say, I failed, so I must not be good enough. I messed up, so maybe this isn't for me. I lost momentum, so I've ruined everything. This thinking turns a single setback into a reason to quit entirely. But successful people see failure differently. They see it as information, not condemnation. A missed day is not proof of weakness. It is feedback about what needs adjustment. A wrong decision is not the end of the road. It is a lesson pointing toward a better one. When you stop attaching your self-worth to perfection, failure loses its power. You begin to ask better questions. Not, why am I like this? But, what can I change next time? Not, did I fail? But, did I return? Because returning is what matters. Progress is not a straight line. It is a series of corrections. You drift. You notice. You realign. And each time you realign, you strengthen a critical skill. Resilience. Resilience is built when you refuse to let one bad moment erase weeks of effort. It grows when you restart without drama, without guilt, without self-punishment. You simply continue. This mindset changes how you experience setbacks. Instead of seeing them as proof that success is fragile, you realize something empowering. Success is flexible. It survives bad days. It survives mistakes. It survives imperfection. As long as you don't abandon it. And here is a quiet truth many people never learn. The ability to recover is more important than the ability to perform. Anyone can show up on a good day. Few people can return after a bad one. But those who do build something unbreakable inside themselves. They stop fearing failure. They stop hiding from mistakes. They stop needing flawless progress to feel confident. They know that setbacks are not detours. They are part of the road. And each time you stay on the path, despite frustration, disappointment, or doubt, you deepen your belief. I don't quit when things get uncomfortable. That belief is rare. And it is powerful. Because in the long run, the person who keeps returning will always outpace the person who needs everything to go right. This is how success is built daily. Not by avoiding failure, but by refusing to let it define you. Part 8. Turning daily effort into a meaningful life. When you step back and look at the journey so far, one truth becomes clear. Success is not just about achievement. It is about who you become through daily effort. If success were only about results, it would feel empty once you reach them. But when success is built daily, it reshapes your entire way of living. You begin to value progress over perfection, consistency over intensity, meaning over applause. Your days gain structure. Your actions gain intention. Your life gains direction. This is the deeper reward of building success daily. Not the outcome, but the alignment between your actions and your values. Each day becomes a reflection of what matters to you. You stop chasing validation. You stop waiting for permission. You stop measuring your worth by comparison. Instead, you ask a simpler, more powerful question. Did I live today in a way I respect? This question changes how you define success. Success is no longer a distant finish line. It is present in your routine. It shows up when you keep a promise to yourself. When you choose effort over comfort. When you act with integrity even when no one notices. And this kind of success lasts. Because it does not depend on circumstances. It does not disappear when results slow down. It does not crumble under pressure. It is built into your character. Daily effort also creates meaning because it connects today to tomorrow. You are no longer drifting. You are building. Each small action becomes part of a larger story, a story of persistence, growth, and self-respect. And meaning grows where intention lives. You may not see the full picture yet. You may not know exactly where the road leads. But you trust the direction because you trust how you move forward. This is what separates a successful life from a busy one. A busy life reacts. A successful life chooses. Chooses how to spend time. Chooses what to prioritize. Chooses what kind of person to be day after day. And over time, those choices compound. Not just into achievements, but into confidence, clarity, and peace. You realize that success was never something you were chasing outside yourself. It was something you were building within. Daily effort transforms your life not because it guarantees a perfect future, but because it creates a meaningful present. And when your present is meaningful, the future takes care of itself. This is the final truth of success built daily. You don't wake up one day successful. You wake up one day realizing you have been living successfully all along. As we come to the end of this journey together, I want you to remember one simple truth. Success is not something you wait for. It is something you build. Quietly, patiently, daily. It is built in the ordinary moments, the mornings when no one is watching, the evenings when you could choose comfort, but choose effort instead. It is built when you return after setback, when you keep going without applause, when you trust the process even before results appear. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to move fast. You don't need to have it all figured out. You only need to show up again and again. Because every small action you repeat is shaping your future self. Every disciplined choice is a vote for the person you are becoming. And over time, those votes add up. One day, you will look back and realize that success did not arrive suddenly. It was already there, hidden inside your habits, your resilience, your daily commitment to growth. So take this message with you into tomorrow. Build carefully. Build patiently. Build honestly. Not for validation. Not for shortcuts. But for a life you can respect. If this video resonated with you, if it helped you slow down, reflect, or see your daily actions differently, I invite you to consider subscribing to the channel. Turn on the notification bell so you don't miss future videos designed to help you think clearly, build discipline, and grow stronger, one day at a time. Thank you for spending this time with me. And remember, success is built daily.